The Story Droid presents Olivia Brown, a short story written by Andrew Dresner, all rights reserved. Narrated by using the voice Zephyr in Google Gemini 2.5 Pro Preview TTS. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, events, and incidents are the products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. Olivia Brown pulled open her backpack and emptied its contents onto the floor. She began combing through it, then grabbed her laptop bag, unzipped it, and searched each of its pockets. Hours later, the door to her room opened and her father stood facing her. Olivia was staring blankly at one of the walls, face wet with tears. She was sitting on her bed, hands in her lap, and her belongings still scattered all over the floor. "Mrs. Yates called. Found your report and computer chip," Joseph said as he reached for Olivia. They sat together for some time before Olivia picked up her head while wiping away tears. "I'm so sorry, mi amor. We'll make sure you go next year," Joseph said while kissing her on both cheeks. "Got to go to work. We'll be back before morning, oui?" "Oui, papa," Olivia said as her father put on his jacket and waved as he headed out of the room. She heard the door to the apartment close, the click of the lock, and his footfalls trail off down the hall. Olivia finished her homework, prepared dinner, and cleaned up before her mother returned. She'd later sit with her while she ate. "You spoil me, mi amor. How lucky I am to have you," Marie said, reaching over and hugging Olivia. "Ton père told me what happened, then Mrs. Yates called. I'm so sorry." Marie cleared her setting and then helped Olivia get ready for bed. She kissed her on the forehead as she tucked her in. Around midnight, Marie checked on Olivia and found a book laying next to her with the light still on. She placed the book on the desk and switched off the light. They gave Olivia the only bedroom and purchased curtains for it, the cost outweighing many other things. They wanted as much light to be blocked so she'd be uninterrupted while studying or sleeping. They'd also gotten a second-hand desk, which was quickly filled with books and various items associated with her many projects. Joseph drove a bus at night and would sleep days while his wife Marie worked the afternoon shift at a drugstore. They arrived in the United States just after Olivia was born. The earthquake destroyed their home and jobs. Marie's brother Pierre had helped them by finding them work and an apartment. He had left Haiti before attending college in the U.S. and currently worked as an engineer. As the door closed, Joseph grabbed Marie and lifted her off the floor and hugged her. "Good morning, my dear," Joseph said as they kissed. "Put me down before you hurt your back." "Ah, nonsense. I be as strong as when we met." "She okay?" The computer conference meant the world to her. "I know," Joseph said as his voice trailed off. "If I catch who did this, there'll be hell to pay," Marie said as he nodded. Olivia arrived at her first class 5 minutes before the bell, hung her jacket on the back of a chair, and took a seat. Mrs. Yates was paging through a series of notes that were projected onto a screen at the front of the room. "Okay, settle down," Mrs. Yates said as a couple of stragglers raced in. "You'll all receive your kids at the end of class. Please check to make sure they're complete before leaving. I don't have many spares. The assembled robot must be turned in no later than the 20th. Failure to do so will have a significant impact on your final grade." In this class, everyone pulled out their laptops and were taking notes along with the presentation. Olivia was typing quickly as the slides flashed by, and all the others were also seriously focused. It was an advanced placement class where space was limited and very popular. The rest of the day was quite different, where the teachers fought to keep the students engaged. The bell rang as the class began to pack. Mrs. Yates handed out the kits as they filed out. Olivia grabbed hers, checked it, and slid it into her backpack. She then joined the steady stream of students moving past. She'd visit her locker before heading to math on the 3rd floor. She hung her coat, pulled some books out of her pack, and closed the door. Kim Tass, a mousy-looking girl, was struggling with her pack as she was attempting to pull a book out. "You need help?" Olivia asked. Kim nodded as she held the pack open. Kim finished unpacking and closed the locker. "Thanks. How was tech?" Kim asked. "Just got the robot kit," Olivia said as they got to the stairway. "That's cool." "Not really. It's more like a toy." "Really? Lisa said it took her brother 3 weeks to build it and it didn't work right. Most wanted more time. Built one just like it during winter break, Olivia said. Not everyone's like you, Kim said as they got to the room and took their seats. Kyle Richards made a beeline to the back row and sunk into a seat. Then a few others came in as Dr. Flint turned from the chalkboard. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get settled. We have a lot to cover before the final. Please turn to page 233, Dr. Flint said. That little creep has some nerve, Olivia said. Who? Kim asked. Richards. Did he say anything? Kim asked in a whisper. No, but I'm guessing. It must have been him, just the way he's been acting, Olivia said. Can we please dispense with the crosstalk, Miss Brown? Dr. Flint asked as some of the class chuckled. Math couldn't have ended fast enough. Olivia jumped from her desk as the bell rang. She darted for the door and didn't look back until she was already in the cafeteria. Kim could barely keep up and had lost her breath somewhere between the first and second floor. Oh my God, Ollie, almost passed out. Why the mad dash? You starving or something? Kim asked, barely getting a word out. What's with you? Why didn't you wait? Lisa Pierce asked. Sorry, she wanted to get the hell away from Kyle, Kim said. You think he's the one who took your stuff? Lisa asked. Olivia nodded as they dropped their bags down at a table and went to get food. They finished lunch and continued on to their afternoon classes. Olivia would arrive home just in time to catch her dad before he'd leave for work, complete homework, begin preparing dinner, and have the robot assembled before her mother would return. They both spoke of their days and Olivia helped clean up. While her mother read, she connected the robot to her laptop and began making adjustments to its code. The following day, she presented it to Mrs. Yates. You've increased battery performance, changed the gear timing, making it more powerful, and activated the Bluetooth module, Mrs. Yates asked. Yes, Olivia said as the remainder of the students filed in. I have an announcement, Mrs. Yates said as everyone stopped unpacking and turned to the front of the class. What? Olivia finished her project already? Kyle asked. Do you want to steal it too? Olivia asked as Kyle looked down at the floor. Settle down, Mrs. Yates said. Yes, but that's not it. Mrs. Yates placed her hand on Olivia's shoulder and pointed at her desk. She then handed out a page to each of them as they began whispering. As you can see, the Hall of Science has a robot exhibit opening in July, Mrs. Yates said. That's just great, Tom Louie said. I'll be away. Me too, Peggy Klein said. Most of us are away, Maria Sanchez said. I'm not, Olivia said. Good for you, Kyle said. Settle down. I've arranged for the class to attend an advanced showing. It's only for invited guests, mostly researchers and companies within the industry, Mrs. Yates said. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Christian Haas and Dr. Gloria Tennis, both of whom have pledged sizable endowments to our sister institution, the Hall of Science, just over the bridge, Dr. Cesar Ogala said. The theater erupted with applause as Dr. Tennis pushed Dr. Haas, who was in a wheelchair. Some of the staff helped lift him up onto the stage. Ogala shook their hands as Tennis walked up to the podium. I can't begin to tell you how incredible it is to be in front of all of you. I'm humbled. This place is where I was first inspired, surrounded by such passion as countless scientists conducting reality-changing research, bringing forth discoveries within so many disciplines, way too many for me to mention. I'd entered these halls as a young girl with mouth agape. I feel no different today, 50 years later. I'd like to ask Dr. Haas to say a few words, Dr. Tennis said, which followed with an applause. Dr. Haas moved to the edge of the stage and a mic was brought to him. The waitstaff continued to flow through the tables, passing food and drink. The overhead lighting began to fade from a pale fuchsia to a deep indigo. This complemented the many sea specimens and the blue whale model. Its immense body seemed to undulate as it hung suspended above the audience. I envisioned we'd remain at a periphery, never imagining in my lifetime such accomplishments were possible. Surmount such a vast precipice exponentially, Dr. Haas said, followed with applause. Dr. Ogala climbed back onto the stage while clapping. He reached the podium and raised his hands. As all of you finish your meal, you'll notice curtains are now being removed from the mezzanine. This is a mere sample from the collection. Please make your way up to get a closer look. We'll reassemble shortly for dessert and closing remarks from Dr. Leela Hunter, Dr. Ogal said. Do you know much about any of this? This seems a bit beyond your wheelhouse, a young woman asked as she approached the edge of the stage. Aren't you Sarah Nata? You write for Global Mech? Dr. Ogala asked as Sarah nodded. Rumor has it the curator wasn't able to finish the exhibit on time, Sarah said. Don't know where you're getting your information from. Take it from me, everything's complete. Everything is ready. With that being said, don't leave without having dessert. The cheesecake is said to be excellent. The Hall of Science was located at the edge of the Old World's Fair site in Queens, New York, also known as Flushing Meadows Corona Park, which had been used twice. If anyone knew where to look, evidence could still be found. Plaques embedded in stone marked points of interest or a street name that no longer existed. An expanse so vast, very little of it is ever completely used. The city had varying degrees of failure and success in maintaining it. Many of the structures had become in such disrepair the public could no longer make use of them. It had many renovations and some expansion over the years since being constructed. They'd install temporary interactive exhibits centered around permanent ones. This would bring a constant flow of visitors that seemed to grow year over year. A few generously sized spaces were set aside where one could book a wedding or special event. Its proximity to two major airports allowed it to see more bookings than similar properties. The loading dock was packed with wooden crates, which made it difficult for the staff to maneuver around them. Hey, Rich, what's taking you so long? Linda Jaffrey asked over the radio. I guess you can't imagine what we've got going on down here, Rich Warren said. Ogala is going to be here in the next few days. Can you move it along? Okay, fine. If anything gets broken, it's your ass. Just get it done and don't break anything, or it'll be both our asses. How about you come down here and give me a hand? Rich asked. Be down in a minute. It took the better part of the afternoon to unpack and move a half dozen of the robots. They had them piled outside the freight elevator and a large blue bin filled with wires, various transformers, and a stack of binders. A few of the robots looked human, and the remainder were reminiscent of industrial equipment. Linda was stacking the binders on a folding table Rich had pulled out from the coat check room. They dragged some platforms around the mezzanine and positioned them below clusters of ceiling lights, the dim pools fighting the sunlight which poured in from a series of skylights. It was decided that a large red robot was to be placed at the entrance, giving the exhibit an impressive entry point. It would face the railings that overlooked the second floor. A black drape blocked the top of the stairs so daily visitors couldn't see anything from below. They recruited additional staff to help them with the larger robots. A few stood beyond 3 meters and needed to have parts stacked above one another. They constructed a rolling scaffold and added a hoist to it, making the process possible, but was slow going. Hey, Linda, should we plug these wires in? One of the workers asked. Nah, haven't got time for that, Linda said as they lowered the top half onto the base containing the legs. The others finished and made their way out since their shift were over. Rich was lying on the floor behind one of the platforms. He was tightening a couple of bolts that were holding one of the legs to the frame. Linda began opening another crate as the drill labored to pull out the screws. The side fell to the floor, almost hitting into her. The sound echoed and caused Rich to sit up. He nodded and continued with the final leg, going from bolt to bolt with the wrench. The sunlight began to fade as they continued to work. Each took a brief bathroom break and began to eat some takeout food they had ordered earlier. Where are we at? Want to get out of here at a decent hour? Rich asked as he took another bite. Hey, need you until done, Linda said while wiping at her mouth, mustard almost running down her chin. Look at you, you're beat to shit and I got a date tonight. How about we leave soon and be back first thing in the morning? Nice, leave me here alone all night? Linda asked, putting her sandwich down. They were seated at one of the folding tables. Linda was frowning as Rich continued to eat. The sun had moved further west, which darkened the room, causing it to seem later than it was. A few minutes later, they cleared the table and threw out the trash. Linda was leaning over a floor plan, marking down some notes. "I got an idea that'll speed things up," Rich said. "I like the sound of that. What do you have in mind?" The days passed quickly as the end of the term approached. Spring fever turned to summer fever as the teachers struggled to keep the students focused. Olivia almost tripped as she made it into the classroom. Mrs. Yates had the windows open and a breeze was blowing. Olivia had almost dropped the permission slip, still clutched in her hand. "As you know, the trip is at the end of the week. The ones who are attending, please hand in your slips," Mrs. Yates asked as the bell rang. Students began to line up, and not long after, a pile of slips had formed on the front desk. The clock ticked away minutes that felt like hours. Kyle sat with his chair against the back wall, desk moved to the side. He seemed to have been struggling with his robot, pecking at the keyboard as the sound of servos were whining. The robot launched itself across the room and slammed into the wall at the front. Many began to laugh as Kyle jumped up and ran toward it. He dove onto it before it could make another attempt at hitting the wall. "Mr. Richards, are you having trouble?" Mrs. Yates asked as Kyle shook his head. "So you meant for it to crash. Nice job," Olivia said as others laughed. "Excuse me, I'll have none of that. Ms. Brown, please go and help him," Mrs. Yates said. "Aren't we supposed to do our own work?" Olivia asked. "Roboticists typically work in teams." "But doesn't he have to do his own work?" "I'm making an exception," Mrs. Yates said as she pointed towards Kyle. "So you get to steal my stuff and I get to do your work for you? This is a bunch of—" Olivia trailed off as Mrs. Yates frowned. "Don't need help from you," Kyle said as he closed his laptop with a snap. "You didn't put in any stop codes between instructions," Olivia said as the bell rang. "Excuse me, Miss Brown," Mrs. Yates called as the class streamed out. "He's worthless and don't need to waste my time," Olivia said. "That kind of behavior can get you removed from the trip." "He's a thief and liar. Why should he get to go?" Olivia said as she looked at the pile of slips. "That hasn't been proven. You have no right to accuse Kyle of stealing your property," Mrs. Yates said as Olivia exhaled. "That hasn't been proven. You have no right to accuse Kyle of stealing your property," Mrs. Yates said as Olivia exhaled. The days continued to drag on as the weather grew warmer. The final bell rang on Thursday, which caused a swarm of students to flee the building as fast as they could. Once outside, darting in all directions. Some stopped off at a local pizza place, convenience store, or for fast food. Olivia continued on towards home and only paused at an occasional stoplight. The air was warm and humid, the sun cut through the tall buildings. Short shadows followed her as she moved along the sidewalk. Once home, the smell of disinfectant filled the cool air as Olivia pulled on the door to the stairwell. She skipped steps as she climbed. Once on her landing, she went through the door and into the hallway. A few of the light bulbs were out, and she imagined a design of a robot whose job it was to replace them. Olivia pulled out her key, unlocked the door, and entered the apartment. She turned to make sure it was shut before throwing the deadbolt. After a change of clothes and a quick bite, she was in front of her laptop. No new assignments, and the calendar showing the final days of school, and most importantly, the trip to the science center for the robotics exhibit. Olivia opened a browser window and searched for the website. The event showed up on the front page, generic photos and boring copy, nothing of the actual setup. Olivia shut down the laptop and went into the kitchen to begin preparing dinner. Marie had organized all of the ingredients, which made it easier. Olivia combined them and placed the pan in the oven. The timer automatically turned it on, and she could begin to see the coils glow. The food began to cook, which filled the apartment with a strong aroma. Marie arrived an hour later, hugged Olivia, and set the table before changing clothes. "Are you excited for the party?" Marie asked as she filled their plates. "Not a party, an exhibit." "Why such a sharp tone?" "Sorry," Olivia said, staring at her hands. "Things no good at school?" "It's okay." "That boy again? I'll get right on the phone with the principal," Marie said, putting her fork down. "No problems, just bored." "Ah, what a luxury for you. Most never feel that way. School for me was always challenging." How lucky we're to have you. You and Papa always say that. Is that true? Most struggle with their children to get studying and homework done. I hear it from my customers all the time. I guess. I never think about it. I just do it. You should get ready for bed. You've got a long and exciting day tomorrow, Marie said as Olivia nodded. The night was filled with vivid dreams of missing finals and running to class while in her pajamas. Olivia had looked at the clock many times, finding it difficult to remain asleep. The alarm jolted her as she jumped up and took a deep breath. They were to dress in formal clothes for the day. A bus was going to pick them up after lunch and take them to the Queen's Science Center. The schedule consisted of a photo shoot and a private tour of the facility. The last item in the schedule would be a preview of the exhibit before the event. Time passed slowly. The morning dragged as Olivia moved from class to class. She was getting odd stares due to how she was dressed. Many had on shorts and t-shirts, which were more like beach attire. The administration decided to dispense with the dress code during the final days of school. Since it was the last day, it seemed like the students were taking even more liberties. Finally, it was time to meet at the front of the school. "Hey, Olivia," a voice called from behind as she turned. Kim almost tripped making her way to the bus. "You okay?" Olivia asked as Kim nodded and could see a group already waiting. "Who are they?" Kyle asked. "Sixth graders, you're so dim. Did you think we're the only ones going?" Olivia asked as Mrs. Yates frowned. "Once Mr. Cleese has checked the bus, everyone can board. Please pair up. You'll stick with each other for the rest of the day," Mrs. Yates said. "Jake dropped out, had to go to his grandmother's funeral," Kyle said. "You'll join Miss Brown and Miss Tass," Mrs. Yates said while flipping pages on a clipboard. "Are you kidding me?" "No way," Olivia said. "If this doesn't work for you, I can call your mother to come and get you," Mrs. Yates said as Olivia shook her head. Moments later, they began to load the bus, paired up and then hopped into seats. Olivia and Kim sat in the front, Kyle seated next to Mrs. Yates. The driver had music playing, not typically done. The overall feeling for the trip was almost party-like. They cut through traffic as they drove across town. Dark clouds began to move in as the wind picked up, which seemed to swallow up all the remaining sunlight. The music could barely be heard above the chatter. The vibe was positive as some of the students hopped from seat to seat. Mrs. Yates threatened that the trip would be canceled if they didn't remain seated. "It's just you?" Kyle asked. "Excuse me?" Mrs. Yates asked, looking up from her phone. "Thought Mr. Bell would be going too," Kyle said. "Mr. Yates' meeting is at the museum." "Oh, your husband," Kyle said as Mrs. Yates nodded. "Listen up, we'll be arriving momentarily," the driver said. They left the highway and made a few turns and then onto 111th Street. The trees that lined each side briefly shielded them from the rain. It began to come down so hard it drowned out all sounds as it hit the metal roof. Countless cars were parked on each side, almost making it too narrow for the bus to fit through. They turned into a curved driveway and could see the museum ahead. Once at the front of the building, they stopped at a red carpet and the door opened. A tall man approached who was dressed in a dark suit, his gray hair blowing in the wind. His umbrella flapped as he struggled to keep hold of it. Mrs. Yates stood up and made for the door. She then climbed down from the bus and kissed the man. "He must be Mr. Yates," Kim said, giggling. You think, genius?" Kyle asked as he got up. Olivia put her hand on Kim's shoulder. They both frowned as some of the others began making their way off. They darted towards the entrance, trying to avoid getting drenched. Mrs. Yates could be seen in the lobby dividing them into groups. Olivia got up and grabbed Kim's hand as they cut the line to get to the door. She was hoping that they would be with Mr. Yates in an attempt at ditching Kyle. "Change of plans due to the weather. We're to go directly to the exhibit. You two are with me," Mrs. Yates said as she pointed at Olivia and Kim. "Great. Now we definitely have to hang with Mr. Wonderful," Kim said, turning to face Kyle. Once the group was inside, the bus pulled away towards the parking lot. Mr. Yates' group went in first. Once they cleared, the second group was waved in by a museum staffer, a woman with a name tag on her sports coat, Linda J., written on it. She was speaking with Mrs. Yates as they passed by the ticket counter and down a wide hallway. Some made use of the bathroom as they stood waiting behind a roped barrier. The first group had already passed through and could be seen heading towards the right. They could smell food as they got closer to the end of the hallway. Security opened the barrier and they passed into an atrium towards a wide set of stairs. This led to the gallery where the exhibit was. They could see some signs and a few robots placed at the front. The walls and ceiling seemed to have been made of frosted glass, which would have allowed sunlight in. But the sky was growing darker, making it seem as if it was already night. The rain was hitting it just like it did to the bus. A series of spotlights were making pools of light down onto a row of robots. "This is a Merkle Series 1 used to load cargo onto cruise ships," Mrs. Yates said to the group. "That's not right. It's a Synth Lab Hydro 1, Olivia said. "That makes no sense. How could the plaque be wrong?" Mrs. Yates asked, as the overhead lights flickered following a crack of thunder. Olivia hopped up onto the platform and moved around to the back of the robot, rubbed away some dirt from a metal plate riveted to its torso, and took a picture. The robot seemed to shift as she jumped off the platform. Olivia then returned to the group and they huddled around her as she zoomed into the photo. The light from her phone screen lit up their faces as the overhead lights dimmed. "I should never doubt you, young lady," Mrs. Yates said while grinning. "Makes me want to puke," Kyle said. "God, I can't stand you," Olivia said. "She's got to be right all the frigging time. Can't stand you either," Kyle said, as Olivia moved on to the next robot. "This one's wrong too. Says it's a Darwin K. The serial number is really for an Anchor Kel version 1, used as a cleaner. It was stationed at JFK International," Olivia said while reading from her phone. The group stood next to the robot as Mrs. Yates began speaking to Linda from the museum staff. They had moved away from them, so Olivia couldn't make out what was being said. Mrs. Yates put up her right hand, pointed at Olivia, and then the robots. This is when the others from the group took notice. "I wonder what that's all about," Kim asked. "Look what you started. Can't keep your mouth shut? I need this credit to pass," Kyle said. "If you hadn't stolen my stuff," Olivia trailed off. "I didn't take your damn chip," Kyle said. "So you're going to keep lying then?" Olivia asked as she began shoving at Kyle. "Stop it, you two," Kim said as she got between them. A part of the group had moved through the exhibit and joined the others who had gotten to the food. Mrs. Yates was speaking to her husband while Linda was talking to someone on her phone. The overhead lights flickered again and then went dark. Kim spun around, tripped, and lost her footing. She pushed into Kyle, who then hit into the robot, causing it to tip. Olivia tried to grab both of their hands and was only able to pull Kyle out of the way. The robot fell to the floor, pinning Kim underneath it. Olivia screamed as Mrs. Yates came running with her husband trailing behind. Linda dropped her phone as she ran towards them. Mr. Yates began to pull at the robot, causing Kim to cry out. Olivia, Kyle, and Mrs. Yates were also trying to lift it and stopped as Kim screamed. More of the staff joined them, all shining flashlights. The other students came from the buffet and surrounded them. Rich began asking them to go back to the far side of the exhibit. The emergency lights clicked on, making a poor attempt at lighting anything up. "It's your fault. Too much weight," Linda said while standing just inches away from Rich's face. "If you hadn't rushed things, this wouldn't have happened," Rich said. "Enough. The two of you need to shut up. We need to get her out," Mrs. Yates said as she knelt down next to Kim. "Oh my God, Kim," Olivia said while grabbing her hand. "Olivia, I need to tell you something," Kim whispered. "Can you breathe?" Mr. Yates asked as he took Kim's pulse. "Yeah, but I can't feel my right leg," Kim said. The rain intensified as it continued to hit the roof. More of the staff arrived and began guiding everyone away from the platforms. A few of the students were attempting to make calls, cell service spotty. The wind picked up and they could hardly hear anything over the howling. "I'm sorry," Kim said, barely loud enough. "Not your fault. We'll get you out. Try not to move," Mrs. Yates said. "I took it," Kim said. "Took what?" Mrs. Yates asked. "Olivia's chip. It's all my fault," Kim said. "Why?" Olivia asked, voice loud. "'Cause he likes you," Kim said as Olivia frowned. "Her toes are cold," Mrs. Yates said. "What does that mean?" Kyle asked as Mr. Yates waved him away. "No circulation. Too much longer, Kim could lose her leg," Mr. Yates said. "I got an idea," Olivia said as she headed for the stairs. Kyle stood and watched as she disappeared. He looked around and then went after her. Once on the main level, he went back through the hallway and ended up in front of the gift shop. Kyle looked at the signs and made it to the lower level where it was dark. A few spotlights lit the way as he took a wide set of stairs and ended up in the middle of a large area. Too dim to make out much of the details, bright enough to see some of the signs telling visitors what each area was for. He looked around and saw one that said robotics on it. A blue light could be seen from that area. Someone had broken the lock and pulled the gate open. Olivia was seated at one of the tables, two laptops in front of her. She was rapidly typing at one of them. Kyle accidentally kicked one of the benches, which caused Olivia to jump. "What the hell are you doing? Kim's in trouble," Kyle said. "Shut up," Olivia said. "Are you kidding me?" Kyle asked. "If you open the back panel, you'll see a hose attachment," a voice said from Olivia's phone. "Who's that?" Kyle asked. "I'm Bert Becker, engineer at Synth Lab. I'm on my way, but the storm knocked out most of the power in the area and traffic's out of control. You need to get to the loading dock and then follow my instructions." Olivia folded up both laptops, handed them to Kyle, and picked up her phone. She got up and ran out towards a set of double doors. He trailed behind, trying not to drop them. They found themselves in the loading dock. Olivia was standing next to some kind of equipment, pulled open an access panel, and shook her head. "That one's electric. We need one that uses propane," Olivia said. "For what?" Kyle asked. "To power the robot," Olivia said as she pulled at a clamp at the back of a nearby forklift. Kyle put down the laptops as Olivia grabbed a wrench that was clipped to the frame. She closed a valve and then began unhooking the hose from the metal tank. They both pulled it off and lowered it to the floor. Kyle grabbed a nearby cart and they loaded it. Olivia scooped up the laptops and the wrench, then pushed open the double doors. Kyle pushed the cart back through the doors and ended up at the base of the stairs. He took a deep breath while looking up at the next level. He grabbed the tank and began dragging it up as footfalls were heard coming towards him. "Let us give you a hand," Linda said as Rich grabbed one end of the tank. The two worked their way up. At the main level, Olivia was waiting with a cart. Once loaded, they pulled it towards the mezzanine. "I didn't know, I swear," Kyle said. "What?" Olivia asked. "That she likes me." "Don't have time for this," Olivia said. "I told her that I liked you, but didn't know how she felt," Kyle said. "I understand," Olivia said as Kyle nodded. They got to the stairs. Linda and John carried the tank up as Kyle followed. They met Olivia, who was already at the first robot and had connected it to one of the laptops. She was quickly typing, the text on the screen a blur. A voice came from her phone, barely loud enough to compete with the rain. "What are you doing and who's that on your phone?" Mrs. Yates asked. "He's from the robot factory and is almost here," Olivia said as they all stopped to look at her. Rich and Kyle lifted the tank, clamped it onto the back of the robot, and attached its hose. "Open the valve in 3, 2, 1, now," Olivia said as a sound like a power drill came from the robot. "What the hell is that?" Mrs. Yates asked. "Charging its battery. Hope it's got some life left in it," the voice said from the phone. Text began to fill the screen, none readable except the last sentence, which read, "Hydro 1 online, searching for server, serial number redacted." "What the hell does that mean?" Kyle asked. "Please read me what's on the screen," Bert asked, voice interrupted by tones coming from Olivia's phone. "Hold on, getting messages. From my parents. They want to know if I'm okay." "What are you doing?" Kyle asked. "Gotta answer them. If I don't, they won't stop," Olivia said as he nodded. Mrs. Yates was still holding Kim's hand while the others had been moved to the other side of the exhibit. Mr. Yates took off his coat and had wrapped Kim's foot with it. The rain and wind intensified along with the sound from the robot. Nothing else could be heard. Bert's voice was barely loud enough for Olivia to hear. "You must activate Bluetooth on your phone," Bert said. "My phone's about to die," Olivia said. "On the back of the robot, you'll see a retractable wire below the valve. You can tie your phone into power," Bert said. "Okay, done. What next?" Olivia asked as the call ended. "What happened?" Kyle asked. "Don't know. We got cut off," Olivia said. "Call him back," Kyle said. I'm trying, Olivia said as Kim let out a faint cry. Please try him again, Mrs. Yates asked as Olivia nodded. Still not answering. Must have hit a dead spot, Rich said. Great, then what do we do? Mrs. Yates asked. We can get some rope and pull it off of her, loop around one of the beams, Mr. Yates said. Not possible, couldn't take the weight, a voice called from behind. What are you, some kind of expert? Mrs. Yates asked. Yes, I'm the one who had the facility renovated, Dr. Caesar Agala said. He's our boss, Linda said as Rich nodded. What in God's name is going on here? Agala asked. A girl is trapped under your so-called exhibit, so do something, Mrs. Yates said, voice loudening. Olivia pulled over one of the laptops and began typing at it. She tried to enable Bluetooth and received a notification. It required an administrator account to use that function. She then pushed the power button and interrupted its boot sequence to enter into its BIOS. Once done modifying some of its settings, Olivia restarted it. She made another attempt and was successful. She brought up a terminal window and continued to type. What are you doing, young lady? Agala asked. More than any of you, Mrs. Yates said. Just called the fire department. They'll be here to get her out, Agala said. Don't think we called them already? Was 45 minutes ago, Mr. Yates said. I'm in charge here, Agala said. Don't think you're doing a very good job, Kim croaked. Everyone get back, Olivia said. The Hydra 1 robot lurched forward, hopped off the platform, and almost fell before regaining its footing. Olivia yanked her phone from the cable and the laptop fell to the floor as its cable let go. Hydra 1 was flexing its arms and twisting its head left to right. Moments later, was standing motionless. Can you please lift the robot off of Kim? Olivia asked as Hydra 1 remained motionless. Oh, really? Voice commands? This isn't a movie, Agala said. Shut up, Mrs. Yates said. It's okay, you can do this, Olivia said as Hydra 1 turned its head towards her and nodded. Hydra 1 moved over to the fallen robot, latched onto an anchor point from its back, and lifted. Mr. Yates grabbed Kim's shoulders and pulled her out of the way. A sound of tearing metal proceeded with the robot falling to the floor. Its anchor point had let go, and part of it was still hanging from Hydra 1's hand. A tone came from Olivia's phone. Hydra 1 apologizes. He didn't know how fragile the fallen robot was, Olivia said. Who? Agala asked. The robot that just saved that girl, a voice came from behind. Who the hell are you? Agala asked. I introduce Sith Labs senior engineer Bert Becker, Olivia said as he ran up and hugged her. Flashing lights could be seen from the far end of the mezzanine through the tall windows. Moments later, a crew of firemen and a few EMTs came up to them. Kim was loaded onto a gurney and brought down to the street level. Some of the parents had shown up. Mrs. and Mr. Yates escorted the students down to meet them. The museum staff had set up the scaffolding and began taking the large robots off the platforms. Police tape blocked the stairs leading to the mezzanine. What happened to you? Been looking for you for a long time, Bert said to Hydra 1 as a text came into Olivia's phone. After the fire and everything that happened to the others, especially regarding 0100011011011010111011101110 11101110, I needed to shut down, Olivia said as she read from her screen. Incredible job. You got him going again and saved your friend, Bert said. She's not my friend anymore, Olivia said. Don't throw away a friendship over some silly misunderstanding. It's more than that. I know. She took your materials. Mrs. Yates told me, Bert said as Olivia nodded. Who's Chuck? Olivia asked. Oh, you converted the number string? It's about a close friend of mine who's no longer with us. That's a long story. I'll tell you about it when you visit the factory, Bert said. Olivia's father could be seen coming up the stairs and met up with Mrs. Yates. Right after speaking with her, Joseph ran to Olivia and hugged her. You've got an amazing kid here, Bert said. Can't agree more. I can only imagine what took place here, Joseph said, while staring at Hydra 1. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Please comment below. We look forward to hearing from you. If you enjoyed this program, hit the like button and subscribe so you're informed as to when new stories are available.